Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. It's 5:26, so we'll get started closer to 5:30.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Fresno CSE meeting. We are just a few minutes before our 5:30 starting time, so we'll give it a few minutes before we get started, but just wanted to welcome everyone who's been trickling in.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Buenas tardes, Susana.
Good afternoon, Susana.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
This is Amy. I think we have a couple Spanish speakers who are calling in, and if you're calling in and are monolingual Spanish speaking, I think there is an issue with trying to get into the Spanish channel. So, señora Roberta, si no me escucha en español,
Miss Roberta, if you cannot hear me in Spanish,
pero no escucha a la traducción.
I can hear you in Spanish.
No, nada más a usted.
Okay.
I can only hear you, not the interpreter. I can hear the translation.
¿Está llevando por teléfono o por
Are you calling by phone or computer? No, I'm in the computer.
So, creo que vamos a tener un problema
I think that we will have a problem, Marisela,
participación de Roberta.
with the participation of Roberta and Efrain because they're calling in.
I can't hear Marisela. Can you hear her?
I couldn't hear. No.
Thanks for your patience, everyone, as we figure out some technical difficulties this evening. Times when folks call in, if you dial in the number, there's only the monolingual English, but we have some folks who are dialing in who are traveling who want to listen in to the Spanish channel. Marisela, would you like to try again? Nada. Nancy, can you hear Marisela?
Ya le puse donde dice, bueno, ya le había puesto desde hace ratito y ahorita lo rectifiqué, donde dice
Where it says Spanish. I did it before. Maybe if you speak again, I can hear her.
Un momento. Tania, can we try the interpretation with Roberta, please?
I have been speaking and I don't think she can hear me. They need to log out and log back in and choose connect via Wi-Fi or cellular data instead of the phone.
Bueno, parece que sí sirvió, Roberta.
It looks like it's working, Roberta. Thank you.
So we are just going to wait for Marisela to come back. We're having a little connectivity issues with her mic.
I still can't hear you. Was anyone else?
It may help to turn interpretation off right now and then turn it back on.
Mm-mm.
Go ahead and start that again, Tanya. 1 second. Señora Roberta, si puedes coger el lenguaje en español.
Miss Roberta, if you can choose Spanish.
Claro que sí.
Y ahora todos los que ya están.
And now whoever was in the Spanish channel, they have to choose channel. They have to choose Spanish again.
Deje volverlo a quitar entonces.
Okay, let me remove it again and try again. Okay, ready.
Ya está
Perfect.
verde nuevamente.
I have the green button again.
Okay, we are live now, Liz, so we can get started. I still can't hear Marisela though. Marisela, are you in the original audio? We can't hear you.
I don't hear her either.
5:32, so we're gonna go ahead and get started while we work out these issues. I do see that we're live streaming on YouTube as well. So Liz, I think we can get started.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for bearing with us in those first few minutes. Even though we've been doing this a while, we still experience some technical challenges from time to time. But just want to welcome everybody again to our 57th South Fresno CSE meeting. My name is Liz, and I am joined here tonight by two of my colleagues and my co-facilitators, Amy and Michaela. We are all from the Harder and Company facilitation team, and we'll be providing our usual technical support as well as facilitation throughout the evening. Before we open it up to our welcome and introductions, we would like to take a few minutes to walk through the interpretation slides, and then we will continue through the logistics. We know that there are some newer CSE members joining us in tonight's meeting, so it's always helpful to listen to the instructions for how to select your proper interpretation channel. And so I believe I will pass it to Diana to provide those interpretation instructions.
Yes, thank you. Buenas tardes. El día de hoy tenemos disponible el servicio de interpretación para aquellos que lo requieran. Si están conectándose desde una computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver un icono que parece un globo o un mundo. Tienen que seleccionarlo, que dice interpretación. Seleccionan español y luego silenciar el audio original para que puedan escuchar la interpretación del inglés al español. Y si se están conectando desde un dispositivo móvil o desde una tableta, por favor toquen su pantalla, seleccionan los 3 puntos, interpretación de idiomas, nuevamente seleccionamos español y silenciar el audio original. Y para finalizar esta opción, seleccionamos finalizado, terminado o listo. Ahora voy a dar las indicaciones en inglés. Good afternoon. Today we will have interpretation available for you. For those who are monolingual English speakers, if you're using a computer, you'll see at the bottom of the Zoom menu a world-like icon that says interpretation. You can select it and then select English. And if you're joining from a tablet or your phone, you can tap your screen, you select the 3 dots, language interpretation, and then select English, and then finish or done. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you so much. So I'll just pause here to make sure that the interpretation is working for everybody. Is anyone having any issues? If so, please feel free to message anyone on the Harder and Company team or at the Air District team, and we will help you out. So we'll move along with our logistics slides. So these are some of our instructions for the renaming convention, which is important for our attendance tracking and our stipend distribution process. So we ask that if you are a member of the CSE, Please indicate that in your Zoom name by either noting a CSC or putting an R if you are also a resident. And here we have more notes for our renaming conventions. So if you are not a member of the CSC, we also ask that you provide your organization name in your Zoom name so that we have an idea of who is here and who is a member of the public. And on this slide, we have our virtual meeting etiquette reminders. So we ask for folks to please stay on mute unless you are speaking. And if you are joining by the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. And if you have a question or any thoughts that you would like to share throughout the meeting, we ask that you raise your Zoom hand. And if you are on the phone and would like to raise your hand, you can press *9. And then we have another reminder that residents in the stipend program should stay on for at least 75% of tonight's meeting, which is 90 minutes of our 2 hours together. This slide is a review of our group agreements. So everyone here has agreed to help achieve the meeting goals by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue. We want to make sure that we're mindful of creating space for everyone to participate. We also ask for everyone to be kind and respectful, knowing that it is okay to disagree as long as we do so with respect and with empathy. In these meetings, we have also agreed to stay on point and on time. So we ask for folks to try to keep your comments brief so that everyone can have a chance to participate, especially for our newest CSEM members. And if we are running late throughout any point in the meeting, we will bring the decision back to the CSE and ask how you all would like to use the remaining time tonight. Next, we also have agreed to attack the problem and not the person. And finally, we have agreed to seek common ground. Building consensus and finding shared values will help us all achieve the best results. On this slide here is our agenda for the evening. And as a reminder, these agenda topics are representative of those that were requested by CSE members, either through previous CSE meetings or also through our past agenda setting meetings. So we'll have our welcome and introductions in just a moment. Then we will move to our action item tracker follow-up. Then we will move to a SERP incentive measure discussion. For the second half of our meeting, we will be talking about an update on the wildfire outlook. Then we will move to standing updates, next steps, and final public comments. And I will stop sharing my screen. And so we can move to our welcome and introductions. And again, just want to welcome everyone and thank you for being here. It's been a while since we have all been in this virtual space together. And it was a pleasure getting to meet many of you at our June in-person meeting. We do have another packed agenda, as you saw, for tonight, and are excited to welcome back Genevieve, who volunteered to be our co-host for tonight. And so that means Genevieve had a more involved role in the planning and will be more involved in some of the facilitation for tonight's agenda. And with that, I'm happy to pass it off for some opening remarks, and we can start with Genevieve, if you would like to go first.
Hey all, I know most people on the call, but I know there's also new people. So I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Genevieve. I lived in the South Central community in Fresno for about 7 years, and I work with the Central California Environmental Justice Network. And so I am Nayamin Martinez's alternative, and she's my boss. And I've actually moved out of the community, but still a part of CCEJN and still a part of this committee, and really invested in its success. And I really hope I get to meet and learn more about some of our new members. So thank you for having me. I won't spend more time than that so that we can get through our agenda and get on with our evenings. So thanks.
Thank you, Genevieve. And Ryan, any opening remarks from you?
Yeah, I just want to definitely start off by thanking Genevieve for meeting with us before tonight's meeting to go over the agenda and the material, the information that's going to be shared with all of you, and getting her feedback. Also want to introduce Nancy Rios. I know she was at the in-person meeting, but she's an air quality specialist with us that's going to be supporting the South Central Fresno steering committee, and I know she's very excited about the opportunity to work with you, having grown up within the community herself. She has a history there and understanding, and so really appreciate her getting involved. I also want to thank several other people that are in attendance tonight to give presentations, and bringing the information that the community members have asked for and want is so important, and we can't do it without partner agencies coming and presenting. So just thank you so much, and thank you to the steering committee for being here tonight and continuing to participate. And really disappointed I didn't get to attend the in-person meeting and meet all of you face to face, but also looking forward to that opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. And yeah, thank you everyone again. And we can move forward with our agenda for tonight. And next up, we have our action item tracker follow-up. So again, part of our work together is to increase transparency and accountability in this process, which is why we continue to dedicate this time to review the action items with the committee. So as I believe Nancy will walk us through the action items, please do feel free to raise your hand or put any questions you have in the chat. We'll take a few minutes to pause for any questions or clarification throughout. And happy to pass it to Nancy.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Ryan. I am so very happy to be here with all of you tonight. Just a little fact about me, I did grow up in the South Central Fresno. I am from the Calwa area, so and I still live there. So to me, it's always home, and I love it. So I am here, happy, and hopefully, we can all work together. And so I am going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see that? Perfect. Okay, so we did do a few recent changes to the action items. So we separated each section by in progress, complete, ongoing, and comment noted. So this should be a little bit more user-friendly. If you do have any questions or concerns, comments, I am more than happy to help in any way that I can. So let's proceed. So this should be user-friendly. So if you click on in progress, it will take you directly to the action items from the previous meeting. And so we did not have a lot of time last time to go over all of the action items. So I will be going over the April action items. And to start off, we will be going to the April action items. So 55.6 established at the last CSE meeting, it was requested to establish formal land use planning agenda item. And so CSC members are welcome to share land use projects during standing update item on agenda. And so tonight, somebody from the city of Fresno should be here, and they will be talking more about the planning notices. So moving forward to 55.5, and this is also from April. So the Air District will work with the City of Fresno to start Land Use Subcommittee. And so we will continue to work with the City of Fresno to schedule a Land Use Subcommittee. And so moving forward to 55.2, the Air District will explore alternative programs to rubbish burning in collaboration with the city. And so the Air District is continuing to follow up with the City of Fresno regarding these programs to rubbish burning. And so something that is very neat about this new format is once you are done viewing any of the action items, you can just click here where it says return to beginning, and it takes you to the beginning table of contents. So moving to the next complete action items. Let me start from the bottom, going to the April. And so for action item 55.7, it was requested to use May 2023 for onboarding new CSE members and to plan to have an in-person meeting in June 2023. And so the Air District did hold an onboarding training session for new CSC members on June 8th. And we also did have our in-person meeting June 21st at the Malaga Community Center. And so moving a little forward to the action items from June, we're going to start off with 56.4. The Air District will coordinate with Department of Pesticide Regulation to provide updates on statewide initiatives during upcoming meetings. And DPR, so a representative from DPR is here tonight to provide updates on these initiatives. And so let's move to 56.3. Air District will follow up with CSE with additional information on potential truck project mentioned at June CSC meeting. And so an email was sent to the Fresno CSC. And so we are wanting support and input from you all. And so this email was sent on July 27, 2023. And so once again, you can click here where it says return to beginning, and it will take you back to the table of contents. And so we will continue with the ongoing. And let's begin with April's. And so action item 55.4, the AD will distribute outreach materials to CSC and community members interested in distributing information regarding air quality. And so this will be done in the fall. And so we are welcoming CSC members to join up so they can participate in this outreach. And moving forward to action item 55.1. The CSC is invited to engage with CARB's AQ View tool and provide feedback. And you are able to provide this feedback by emailing aqview@arb.ca.gov. And so moving forward to action items from June, community members are invited to fill out applications for the Clean Air Rooms program, as well as to help distribute Clean Air Rooms hard copies. And so community members can apply for the Clean Air Rooms program here. You can select here at this hyperlink right here, and it's going to take you directly to the portal, or by calling the front office, and then you can ask to speak to somebody from the AB 617 community, or not the community, but you know, one of us. Let's see. And then the last action item is 56.2, and the Air District will reach out to schools in the communities to re-engage school staff on clean air protocols and target parents and guardians to advocate for their students. And so we will be on campus again. And so we encourage CSC members to sign up so they can participate in the outreach effort once a list of school has been finalized. And so these are all the action items from April and June. And I apologize that I had to go a little bit fast, but this is just for you know, time's sake, because we do have a packed agenda tonight. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. All right.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there any questions from the CSE before we move on? I'm not seeing any.
No.
Okay, thank you. And if any come up, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll make sure to get those answered. But we can move forward to our next agenda item, which is the CERP incentive measure discussion. You may have seen on the agenda that it is stated we are looking for consensus about the truck replacement CERP measure. I just want to provide some brief context for folks before I pass it to Genevieve. So the Air District will be presenting on a few different CERP measures, and one of them is the truck replacement CERP measure that was noted in an email to the committee last week. We do not have to reach consensus tonight if this feels like a lot of information for folks and if you're wanting more time to process. So just want to note that we will take direction from the CSE for how you all would like to proceed with this agenda item. And with that, I'll pass it to Genevieve.
Thanks, Liz. So this idea is new to me as well. And so I think I'd actually be more comfortable, Ryan, if you presented the idea and I could help facilitate the conversation.
Sounds good. Thanks, Genevieve.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll be covering several CERP implementation updates, exciting. I know several of them are ones that steering committee members have wanted to see progress on. So, happy to report out on that. And I will start off by sharing my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Good, great.
Yes.
So a couple kind of introducing, like I said, there's several milestones that we've hit and excited to provide those updates. Also wanted to provide an update on the Clean Air Rooms program that we opened up several months ago and got off to a really great start. And so I have an update on that. And then looking to get more feedback on the heavy duty measure at the end. So exciting news, we entered into contracts with Tree Fresno and they subcontracted with Central California Environmental Justice Network to work on the vegetative barriers and the urban greening projects. It's very exciting news, and the plan is to start planting later on this year. And so that's great news. We've been working with Fresno Unified School District to move forward with both the electric school bus and the air filtration measures. And I know we've been saying that a lot, but there's we have more concrete information. So we've received 31 applications for 31 different school sites to install standalone air filtration units in classrooms. We've received those. The Fresno Unified has signed those contracts, and so we're very hopeful that they'll start receiving those and installing those in the classrooms for if there are challenging air quality conditions, that they will have those devices to keep the air quality inside the classrooms good. In regards to the school buses, Fresno Unified has identified they're going to do 6 buses. That's very exciting. So we're working on finalizing the contracts and getting those over to Fresno Unified so that they can move forward with putting their order in for the buses, and then hopefully we can see those in the near-term future. Lastly, this is a program that there's a lot of interest about. Is the passenger vehicle repair and replace project plans. As many of you know, these are plans that if there's not a state program for it already that's approved, we have to get CARB's approval. And so, kind of working with the CSE, we submitted those a while back. And so we're hopeful that next month that those will be approved, and that we can then move forward with taking that to our governing board and then opening up that program. Just some information about the Clean Air Rooms program. And so this is, what I was talking about, where we got off to a great start. I'd say probably about after a month, we were about like in the 700 range, and we've seen a steady decline in the number of applications that we've been receiving. And when we initially did the launch, we had worked with news stations in both English and Spanish, and did a lot of social media and got the word out, and we saw a lot of interest. And if there's feedback that community members have on how we can reinvigorate this and get more interest in the program, as you can see, we still have roughly $830,000 remaining to be spent. And we definitely know that there's the households, there's the people in need of these devices. And so it's, in our opinion, it's definitely just about looking for opportunities to engage and make people more aware that this is a real program, that the devices that they get are free to them, that they get replacement filters so that they can take advantage of that program. Overall, for all of Fresno, which is separate from the AB 617 funds, the district opened up a valley-wide program. And so we're seeing a lot of participation in Fresno County. We've done roughly 2,700 units to date. So it's going really well. And the important thing with this program is trying to get these devices to people before there's wildfires and other air quality events that may lead to poor air quality. And so like I said, if anybody has any feedback on that, please feel free to drop it in the chat or share it with us at the end of the presentation. And we'll definitely take that. And we're ready and willing and able to do additional outreach in the community to make more people aware of this program. So one of the things that we heard both in the development of the community emission reduction program, as well as as we've been implementing the program, is the desire to see the transition from heavy duty diesel trucks to zero emission vehicles. And so through those efforts, we've spoken to a lot of the businesses throughout the valley that operate heavy duty trucks, and about programs that are available, and trying to garner interest, trying to get people interested in participating in the program. And to date, we haven't found interest, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think one, it's still really new technology. There's been very few trucks that have been delivered anywhere in the state to date. So people don't have a lot to gauge the successes of transitioning to this equipment. In addition to, if you're a smaller owner operator, the existing program requires you to scrap your vehicle. So I should go to the next one, sorry. So it's very challenging for some of these operators that if they only have a limited number of trucks, to devote one to an electric one and be unsure if there's any issues with that truck that gets taken out of service. That may be that they're not going to be able to satisfy contracts that they have, may not be able to deliver goods, which for small business would be devastating. And so there's uncertainty there. One of the things that we looked at and looked for was what are other models that we can look at to get people interested in considering doing this. And so one of the things that we saw was that the San Diego Air Pollution Control District had developed a pilot program for this very reason, because they were experiencing the same things with a lack of interest in people with compliant fleets, wanting to transition to zero emissions vehicles at this time. And so what we mentioned at the in-person meeting and talked about was this pilot program that San Diego had done, and whether or not that's something that the South Central Fresno Committee would be interested in supporting moving forward with. And so, if we were to, consider this, it allows Fresno businesses to expand their fleets by purchasing a new zero emission truck without a need to scrap the existing compliant trucks. It also has an increased funding amount per vehicle replacement. However, there'd be contracts they would have to sign, and there'd be requirements for them that trips have to be made within the boundary. This program isn't for individuals that don't operate within the boundary. It's only for those that do. And so some of the pros for this is that it's a way to get electric trucks and transition diesel trucks in the community, which for a whole host of reasons is very important. Diesel trucks, even though they're getting much cleaner, they still emit toxic chemicals, and so it's important to transition away from these. It allows small business single operators to become familiar with the new zero emission technology and see how it works for their operations, which is very important for word of mouth. Where we've seen success is when it's worked for someone and they turn around, they tell other people about it and the benefits of the newer equipment, whether it's less maintenance and no fuel costs if they also look to install solar and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but if there's not real world examples out there, it's hard for people to share their experiences. And a lot of us make decisions based off what our friends, our peers, our coworkers' experiences with things are. One of the cons is it does not require the scrapping, and so when we discussed it, the concern was raised. Well, that means they can continue to operate those diesel trucks in the community, and we're not really getting emission reductions. And so what we would look to potentially do would be put some limitations on that the truck that is not like quote unquote being replaced would kind of be used like as a standby in case anything were to happen to the electric truck, and looking to build some of that into contracts that we would enter into with operators. So a couple of different options, and Liz did a great job. The request was to bring some of this information to all of you and for you to consider. And if you feel comfortable, we can look to see if the consensus of the committee is comfortable with moving forward with submitting this project plan to CARB for their consideration and hopeful approval to allow us to start transitioning the heavy diesel trucks. That's one option. The other option, if people feel uncomfortable and don't have a desire, then we would hold off on doing that. And we can continue to discuss if there are still questions that committee members have in regards to this pilot program. And so that is the presentation. I will now turn it over to Genevieve.
Thanks, Ryan. So that was a lot. We covered not only trucks, but we talked about some of the earlier measures and progress there. So do we want to back up and try to answer Ryan's first question about outreach for the clean air filtration devices for the community and how the district can better reach residents and get those into homes? Would you all want to start there? Do you have any feedback or ideas for the district on that? I see Lisa and then Natalie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for finally sending me a copy of, you guys are having a meeting, your agenda. Appreciate it after all these months. Currently, the city is going out and getting a lot of feedback and information regarding housing elements. And I think, the Air District working in conjunction with the city as they're doing their elements, like the general plan element and the housing element, that this would be a good opportunity to piggyback about air quality and the things that are offered by the air district to improve people's lives in the 617 area. Because I know like Saturday, they're doing a queer housing at the tower, and it doesn't take much to throw up a table with some informational packets and stuff of who you guys are and what you guys do and how you can make people's lives a little bit better. Thank you.
That's an awesome idea. Thanks, Lisa. Did the Air District want to respond to that, or just noting it?
Yeah, I took notes of Lisa's suggestion. Appreciate it.
Great idea. Thanks. Natalie?
Well, hi. I know back to school is, I think it's already started, but I do think connecting with principals, but I think having a space where there's actually a workshop where like parents, sorry about that, we're all like, you know, parents that are there, they can sign up for that air filter, yeah, during the workshop. And I'm trying to think of another space, and I think just again, just reaching out to community centers, just considering like with extreme heat, I think cooling centers are a good option to reach out to as well, because a lot of folks have been attending that because of the extreme heat.
Thanks, Natalie. And I saw that the district already plans to be doing outreach in the schools for the other programs. So that could be a really great way to maximize the outreach for back to school. Thanks. Estela?
Sí, buenas tardes a todos.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Well, since you are working together with the Fresno City, the Air District as well, a comment that I have to improve the air quality, and I think if an industry it's moved from another place that it's not longer here in Fresno, maybe to move an industry to another state, to another city, because an example, it's Amazon. Amazon now, it's here at least, and Amazon didn't have a location there. It was in the southeast, and now they have moved to this side. So like in the same place, it's in the same place. It hasn't changed its location. Amazon, it's in the same location, the same community, and I don't think that's good, like for the communities, because they keep polluting. So since the city, it's also here, I think the city has to work on this. If they move an industry, don't just put that industry in this city, maybe send it to another state or to another city, because otherwise it would stay the same. It's like, oh, it's going to be moved, but to the same place. Thank you.
Thanks, Estela. And I think that's really important conversation, especially with our conversation about heavy duty trucks. Does anyone from the city or the district want to respond? And then as a follow-up, is there a way to target the funding for electric trucks to Amazon specifically?
Yeah, I think we've reached out to as many people as we can that operate in the boundaries about participating in this program.
And has there been any movement on considering an indirect source review role that would focus on warehouses like the Amazon?
So that facility was built after it is subject to our ISR. I mean, they had requirements to comply with our rule. So that's not one that was built after the requirements, like a adoption of our rule. So it was subject to our indirect source review rule.
Right, but in previous conversations, we discussed ways to strengthen that rule to push for more emission reductions. Has there been any conversation in the district about moving that forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're actively looking at that right now, similar to other air districts throughout the state who are also looking at that rule. And yeah, I mean, if when it comes to existing sources, I think our rule has been demonstrated to be as stringent as other ones. But yeah, we're continuing to evaluate that.
Have we ever had a chance in these meetings to dive into the Amazon warehouse and learn about how many truck trips it has, what it's done to mitigate emissions, and like the ways it's complied with ISR? Estella, would that be a useful conversation to learn more about the operations and emissions of the Amazon warehouse?
¿Me repite, por favor, la pregunta?
Estella, do you think it would be helpful to focus a future meeting on the Amazon warehouse and learn about its emissions and the number of truck trips and potential opportunities for emission reductions on site?
Sí, sí, porque están cerca.
Yes, because they're close by from where I live.
Okay. Harder and Co., could we add that to the items for a future meeting? Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Kimberly, sorry, your hand's been raised.
It's okay. I just wanted to piggyback on a suggestion that Natalie had. I do know that school is starting back. So we do have like backpack giveaways that are going on all this week, some on the weekends. And then once school starts, back to school night is going to happen really soon. So that's a good way to reach a lot of residents to get them signed up for that program. And Ryan, can you send me some information so I can share it with the residents that I'm working with on the CAD program to get them signed up?
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody wants any materials, Kim, do you want hard copies or do you want
hard copies, both hard copies
okay.
and the link?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great idea. Okay. Anything else on the outreach before we move to the truck conversation? Lisa, I just tried to like unmute you with my finger.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just have a question. I've been mentioning, and several other people have been mentioning for years, the back to school nights, the schools, the different things that the city has been doing. Is there any sort of community outreach plan and program and policy by the Air District yet? Or is just Ryan just going to continue to, and I don't mean to pick on you, Ryan, write down the notes and that's it? And because, we've, last year, back to school was mentioned time and time again. The year before that, it was mentioned time and time again. And there was not really a robust outreach, because the parents are sitting ducks when they go to these, back to school nights. Yeah. And they're taking all sorts of information in.
Yeah, I could say that, we've attended back to school nights. We also have, programs at the beginning of the school year where we're going out and with meeting with parents and queuing and dropping off their kids at, the schools within the community. So yeah, we're doing a lot of that. We've been trying to engage Fresno Unified about a similar effort this year. And so, we're trying to get out to all the schools and do exactly that.
Okie dokie. And will you provide the 617 committee some hard data of how many contacts, what was kind of the return of investment?
Well, it's on the materials that they submit, it's hard to say, where they heard about the information. To point to any singular event and say that was why they ended up doing it. That's not on the forms.
Yep. Thanks, Ryan. And I think your slide earlier showed that school outreach work, but I think the question was more about tracking. Does the Air District track like the number of meetings they go to share outreach information? And would that be in like the community report that y'all do annually, or is that published anywhere?
I'm gonna have to defer to our outreach and communications team.
Hi, I can speak to all of this. So yes, we put that information in our annual report. We did do direct outreach at schools that's in AB 617 communities. That's in all AB 617 communities last year. That's staff that physically were at school districts in the morning and in the afternoon, passing out materials to parents as they were picking up or dropping off their kids at school. We are working to do the same thing this year in all AB 617 communities. It's a bilingual team that goes out and talks to parents primarily. And then we couple that with meetings with principals and attending back to school night events where it's appropriate. Most back to school nights, it's about going back to school, and they actually would prefer that we aren't there. So we go to like PTAs, parent-teacher associations. We go to, there's some coffee with parent type events, and we do all of that. But our big push happens about the first month back to schools in place, and we have packets that we hand out. And we can give you a ballpark. Last year, we ended up having to even order more materials because we had given out so many of the materials that we had run out. So we can get that information to you. It was several thousand last year packets that we gave out at AB 617 schools.
Thanks, Jamie. I see Isabel and Kimberly.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Yes, good afternoon. I don't know if it's too soon, but maybe like for tomorrow, we're going to have the back school meeting here in Sequoia. I don't know if it's too soon to have the information ready for tomorrow, so it can be, hand out there.
When we've talked to schools, they don't allow third parties to come in and pass out things at their back to school nights. They use their back to school nights to talk to the parents about back to school stuff. And it's really us being able to do the direct outreach to parents at pick up and drop off.
Would it be possible for Isabel to be like a Air District, a community ambassador, and for her to have the printed material and her to share with parents?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of a sneaky way to do it. We're all about sneaky ways to get the information out. So Isabella, we can get you materials tomorrow sometime. Just touch base with Marcella and we'll make sure that we get those to you.
Yeah, and I didn't want to put you on the spot, Isabel, if you don't want to have that responsibility.
Sí, está bien.
Cool.
Yes, it's okay.
Awesome. Kimberly?
No, my question was to Jamie. I just wanted to know how it was packaged and how it was being sold to Fresno Unified School District for back to school night, because a lot of these schools have a lot of kids with high asthma rates. And I think if we were selling it like that, then maybe they will allow maybe 10, 15 minutes just to talk about it and to get people signed up, because a lot of these parents don't know about the resources. So I was just wondering how it was packaged and how it was being sold. But you kind of answered it a little bit, saying that they just want to keep it strictly about back to school night. But I think having several different information to make sure that your child stays in school and is not experiencing the elements of weather as we go through it, and having their asthma flare up will be a good way to get your foot in the door.
Agreed. Good point.
Maybe maybe it can be an air district and parent. The organizer in me is saying perhaps we'd be more successful if the air district teamed up with parents of the schools to make the ask to the school district.
Well, and make no mistake, the schools love us to come. They just don't want us at back to school night. They have a very full agenda of things that they're talking about at back to school night. That's why they're more than happy to let us come in at the mornings during drop off, in the afternoons at pickup, at PTA meetings, at, you know, some schools, some teachers even have us come and do presentations. But really, when we've talked to them, especially during this back to school window, they want us talking to parents at pickup or drop off. And we're like, we come out with, we have the orange vest, we look very professional, we have packets of information that include a whole variety of things, including like some fun little giveaway to kind of get, oh, I want that over there. Yeah, come and talk to me. So schools are great partners. It's just that back to school hour that they usually have for parents is they have a million things that they have to deal with.
Okay.
Has there been conversations around maybe setting up a booth? Because as they're exiting out of the cafeteria, they're going to see that table, they're going to see those see the swag on the table, and they're going to come by asking questions. Just a quick 5-minute of who we are, what we do. Just want to give you this packet. Please review it, sign up for the program. If your kids has asthma, I mean, just a really quick elevator pitch on the program. And handing out the packet, I think will be very successful if the Air District is allowed just to set a table up outside. Because I mean, you're going to have all parents there because they want to know what this school year is going to be about. And this is a great window of opportunity to reach as many people as you can to get them signed up for the program. So just throwing out another idea. I have my community organizers hat on tonight. So just thinking of ways on how to reach people.
Great ideas. And yep, we have outreach to Head Start schools. That was one of the questions that we had.
Awesome. I'm wondering where we are on time, but Natalie's hand is raised. Natalie?
Yeah, just kind of going back off Kimberly's point too. I think, you know, even when we are distributing those flyers, I think that education piece really is important. So I think maybe supplementing that clean air rooms filter flyer with like you know, the impacts of pollution on developing lungs, things like that. So like that connection is made already with parents when they grab the packet.
Yep, we agree.
Awesome. Okay, can someone at Harder & Co give me a time reminder of where we should be right now?
Yeah, thank you. And so I think we're 10 minutes over time for this agenda item.
And we haven't even talked about it.
We haven't quite gotten to the truck conversation yet and didn't want to stop the conversation because it is important and timely. So yeah, I think this is one of those moments where we can bring it back to the CSE and ask how you all would like to use the rest of this meeting. I think, Ryan, it seems like we could table the truck conversation to a later meeting, or is that time sensitive and does that need to be kind of?
It is kind of time, yeah. I mean, we are looking to get moving. Hopefully, you know, with direction from the CSC, it takes time to get these, and you know, there's timelines to try to get people under contract, and then for them to, you know, order vehicles and things of that. So, you know, every month we push off it gets that timeline gets pushed back even further. So it's preferable if we can, get a sense of what steering committee members are thinking about it. If they have any additional concerns, if we did have to bring it back, then hopefully to be able to answer all those questions.
Okay. Do we want to try to get into that conversation now then?
I think it's fair to let Bill, he has his hand up, answer the question, and then we can bring the conversation back to what we were discussing earlier. But he hasn't spoke. A lot of us have spoke several times, so I think it's only fair to allow Bill to speak.
Totally. Bill?
Yes, I was just going to mention a couple of things in regards to, setting up a program on the truck thing, like I briefly read about. I think it's a good start in the right direction. To give a few comments, especially with this electric being a brand new technology, it's really risky. I could see where owner operator would be very hesitant to turn in their old truck and then put their whole life based on a new technology that's not proven, especially like, you read yesterday, one of the biggest electric bus manufacturers went bankrupt, that's had billions of dollars poured into it. And it's this kind of thing that would devastate an owner operator. But also, and this, could go to CARB, the way their programs are set up for these truck replacements. And like Ryan was saying earlier, he was concerned that if they got a new electric truck and they still had their old truck, they would use their old truck more than the electric truck. Well, unfortunately, the programs, the way they're set up, they almost force you to do that because, for example, I had some trucks that I had bought newer ones before I had to. And so instead of using my older ones, I had those parked and used them for backups in case I had a problem. So when I used the newer trucks like almost every day, now I couldn't qualify when it came time to turn the old ones in to get benefit from the programs because, I didn't use them enough. So in other words, the way the programs are set up now, they encourage you to use your oldest trucks first, which is backwards, in my opinion, on how it should be. And then, so then, another problem is like, the programs are set up for the more miles you run, well, then the more money you get type of thing. And so you have somebody that has a tractor that all he's got to do is unhook the airlines, unhook the fifth wheel, back it under a different trailer, and he's gone. You have people like that are in the AB 617 community where they've got bodies that are mounted on the trucks. It costs me most of the money just to transfer all the pumps and all the paraphernalia, depending on what kind of truck it is, from the old chassis to the new chassis. Whereas the person that's got a 3-axle tractor and he's running 600 miles a day with 2 drivers or whatever, he could easily put the 30,000 miles or so on to qualify for the money. Somebody that's truly like in the AB 617 area that's just running around Fresno, it's hard to get that many miles. And it hurts them the worst because they have practically a brand new truck if they're running, 10,000 miles a year or something. And then it comes time, well, oh, you don't run enough miles, so you don't qualify for anything. And then, with the last go around, where if you didn't qualify because you didn't run enough miles, you ran your newer trucks, you parked your older trucks, you got nothing. And then, with the changes in the rules where originally it was supposed to be you could have a backup truck and use it 5,000 miles a year, with the Lawson lawsuit, it went to 1,000. So you have a truck that you're spending, $3,000 or more a year for licensing. Depending on what is mounted on that truck, you could spend another $3,000 on, CARB authorizations and so forth to use for 1,000 miles a year. But unfortunately, with the way things have been, particularly during COVID, the newer trucks, you have a malfunction with the system, you could be down 4 months waiting for parts, and that type of thing really bothers me with the new electric trucks. The technology is so new. Well, I mean, I've heard of it taking 3 years to get electric truck. I'm hopeful it's going to be a lot quicker now, but then you have the infrastructure situation where try to get PG&E to move and bring in some power where you could charge some trucks. I'm trying to deal with them now to get some high-speed charging at my facility so that trucks can charge there besides my own, and however many megawatts you need, depending on how many, it takes a megawatt for a Tesla semi to charge it. I mean, that's a lot of power, and PG&E is just not gonna, it's a process to get them to do anything. And it's just unfortunate, if CARB would, right now, the way I see the program going to go, people are going to buy the minimum electric trucks they need and not use them. Just buy what they have to need, what they have to fulfill their requirements, and still run their diesels as much as they can. If they would relax, because if you don't run them, you're not going to have enough miles when it's time to turn it in, for the next electric truck. So, I think that they need to reconsider some of the requirements for coming up with, the money, I think it's a good idea to use, if you're in the 617 area and you're going to, just stay basically in this area, maybe you're just in Fresno County or something like that. But it makes it really hard when you're just local like that to put the kind of miles that, a typical over the road, semi is going to do, so but that's my comment. And I don't want to take any of your time. If somebody wants to call and talk to me, I've got ideas, for example, that I think if you want the bigger companies to buy electric trucks, I'll tell you the way to do it. You come to the company and you'd say, okay, if you're limited use trucks, you have a truck that will qualify, that you're running every day. You turn in your limited use truck, which is a legal truck as far as limited use, and get electric truck, you'll get takers, because then you could afford to set up the electric truck and use it, because you've got a good backup that you could depend on. That electric truck goes down, well, I mean, you can't even get a new electric hardly in a timely manner. And I can't afford to get rid of my backup trucks, even though I pay everything and don't even use them. I can't afford to use them for 1,000 miles, because if I have one in an accident or something like that, well, it's going to take me 2 years to replace that truck. By the time you get your body or your tanks or whatever you have on it, order the chassis, modify it to fit. I spend the money on just transferring the equipment over to the truck, and the excise tax, you get nothing towards the truck. Yeah. And I've got the limited use trucks. I've got some of them sitting there that don't even have 100,000 miles on them. I've got them with brand new engines, everything perfect, and I can't even use them because I use my new trucks and parked my old ones, and then I got bitten when it was time to turn them in for the program. So
hey, Bill.
Yes.
You're providing really great information, and I hate to cut you short.
No, that's Dan. I understand.
It's just we have people from other agencies here too that try to be mindful of that as well. And but yeah, definitely thank you for all the insights that you provided.
You're very, that was really important information to share and for us all chew on.
I was trying to go real fast so to get through.
No, I love this idea of turning in the limited use trucks. Kimberly, your hand's raised.
Yeah, my question is more around infrastructure. As a former owner operator, and when talks were first talking about zero emission trucks and electric trucks, I think it was around 2015 2014, 2013, 15, something like that. We had to sell our trucks because we did long haul. We did all 48 states. And because there wasn't a lot of infrastructure in place, or we even seen very few as we traveled throughout the United States, it was kind of hard to stay in business. So my point is that a lot of owner operators make their income running long haul, not just in town or not just the state of California. So how is infrastructure going to be built out to entice them or to give them encouragement on switching over to the newer trucks and still be able to maintain the same type of income that they're used to? Because that's going to hurt the owner operator on that side.
Ryan, this is Janine. If you don't mind, I don't mind taking that one. Okay. Janine Tackett, I'm with the grants. I oversee the truck programs. Kimberly, you've got a really great point. Right now, the zero emission technology is nowhere near close to being able to handle long haul. So really, truly, we're looking at local haul. We're looking at in-town deliveries. Each generation that the manufacturers turn out will have increased mileage capacity. But right now, there's no way these trucks can go that far. So the focus for the next, immediate future is really on the local haul vocations and infrastructure coming down the pipeline in a variety of areas. We do have infrastructure programs available to help pay for that. Typically what we're seeing are the trucks being best suited for the returning to home base each day. So they come and go from the same yard, and infrastructure is being established in those yards for those trucks. For example, we've got Producers Dairy, downtown Fresno, that has deployed a couple of electric trucks. They've got first generation trucks. They've got infrastructure established at their facility down in South Central Fresno. They took on the trucks through a collaborative effort between a couple of different air districts. They were one of a few different fleets throughout the state to participate in that. And they're helping to just demo the equipment to their surrounding peer businesses in that area. But again, we're probably looking at a number of years before the equipment is ready to be able to handle long haul. And the hope is, as those years progress, the infrastructure then branches out across the states, as there are other states that are actively following California's lead in transitioning to zero emission.
Is that education piece being provided to owner operators? Because with the new rule that's been passed, there's been a lot of panic among that community. So has there been an education piece that has been done with owner operators that do long haul to have that insurance that there's not going to be any infrastructure long haul for a while, so they can keep running and doing business as usual? That's how I'm taking it, because there's no way they'll be able to switch over. That's going to hurt them.
Yeah, so I'll probably defer to CARB staff to answer that one, as the regulation is in their court, but I don't know if maybe Brian wants to tackle that.
Oh, I'm taking a ton of notes, and yeah, I can get back to the group and Kimberly specifically. Yeah, and we do have, I was going to reach out to Bill too, and Kim, we do have an advisory panel that helps us revise those guidelines for all the little gaps you all that are really familiar with using trucks have found. I don't know if you all have participated in that, but I think you'd be really valuable. So I'll get back with information on the program. Yeah.
I can quickly answer Kimberly's question. So the newest regulations that are working to be passed to turn diesel trucks to electric are focusing on really, really large fleets that have a really high operating budget. And then they're also focusing on drayage trucks moving in and out of ports because they're going short distances. But right now there's no requirements to turn trucks to electric for long haul or owner operators, because you need so much money to upfront money for electric trucks to make sense over the life course, that owner operators are not going to be required to do this in the most recent round of regulations that CARB is working on.
Thank you for that. I kind of am familiar with that, but I just wanted to know from a former owner operator's point of view, how is this going to benefit them or hurt them, or is there talks of having working with other states to create infrastructure so they can switch over, be able to receive those incentives and still maintain their business and their income?
Mm-hmm. Natalie? Oh, sorry.
Kimberly, sorry, Genevieve, thank you for providing that. I wanted to also add that this project plan that we're proposing truly does hit on this specific scenario here, because there isn't anything that's requiring local businesses and owner operators to transition their trucks right now. We really need to look for creative ways to encourage them to take action early, because we do want them to take that action now to help clean up the pollution within the community. And so this proposed project plan tries to hit at some of those areas. Bill mentioned several of the areas that the project plan is kind of targeting. The fact that you don't have to crush a truck, that we're looking for vehicles that are currently operating 52 trips per year within the community boundaries, and then displacing those diesel trips with that new electric truck. Also increasing the incentive amount to help compensate, or I should say, close the gap in that difference of cost or the financial risk that a fleet owner would be taking by adopting the new technology. So a lot of the concerns that I've been hearing here, I think, are directly connected to some of the things that we're proposing in that project plan.
Thank you for that. And I'll be looking forward from the information that Brian's going to send. Thank you.
I think they might be accidentally unmuting themselves. I think that's a nice segue that we have here. It sounds like we are likely not going to be reaching consensus on this tonight. It sounds like folks are bringing up a lot of really great and important questions and considerations, like the infrastructure needed and all of these details that go into it. And so I do think we still have CAL FIRE here ready for a presentation on the wildfire outlook, and want to respect their time as well. And so I'm wondering what the CSC thinks about continuing this conversation at the next CSC meeting. Potentially, if we have a subcommittee that could meet between then, or if we have someone who would like to volunteer as a co-host and provide more of that support during the preparation for the next meeting. Yeah, so we'll just pause and see how would folks like to proceed with this conversation.
I can go ahead, Liz. I think it's important to table this item for a future meeting. It's important that we get the ball rolling, but I think it also gives us the opportunity to bring this item back to our teams and see what other important considerations there need to be made. And one thing I was thinking of too is as there's more conversion of electric electric trucks, it's important that infrastructure isn't concentrated in places that are low income communities of color, because those heavy duty truck impacts are still going to have an effect on the community due to the weight of the trucks and how much they do provide a lot of wear and tear on roads. And I just wanted to echo what Kimberly was saying. I think there's definitely needs to be a lot of support and guidance for owner and operators in the long run. I think if we want this program to be successful.
Thanks, Natalie. I agree. I think we should table and maybe even Bill could co-host because he's so knowledgeable. What do others think? Sounds like a good topic for subcommittee to gather the info and present. I like that idea from Janet. Do we have a truck subcommittee or is it just the truck reroute?
Just the truck reroute subcommittee. I mean, we can definitely work with interested parties to set up a meeting to discuss further.
Yeah, maybe we could have like a whole hour with some interested residents and members to discuss it and then bring back kind of our analysis to the committee for further discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay, who would want to be a part of that conversation? See, Nasreen, are y'all volunteering or wanting to speak? I think it's a volunteer.
I'd like to be included. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. And Natalie, Bill, would you be a part of that conversation with us?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind.
Thank you. And
I'm going to be biased. I'll tell you that right now.
This is Janet. I'd like to be.
I'd like to be a part as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, Janet as well.
Gotcha.
Because we have garbage trucks that have moving arms every stop.
Yeah, those are more difficult, aren't they?
Way more difficult.
Okay. So I've got 6 people who'd want to be a part of that conversation. Okay, awesome. Then maybe we can go on to the next agenda item because we have guests to present. We don't want to not have them.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for this lively conversation around this really important, these really important topics. So looking forward to continuing the conversation next month. Yes, and so at this time, we will be transitioning onto the update on the wildfire outlook for 2023. Yes, in our last agenda setting meeting, it was raised. It was raised that at that time we had only seen a couple of wildfires within the San Joaquin Valley and had seen very minimal impacts from wildlife in Mariposa, and those that were and the wildfires that we did have were currently contained, so we weren't experiencing impacts. However, it was raised that there might be some concern from CAL FIRE due to vegetation overgrowth from the extended rains, particularly in the mountains where vegetation was remaining wet longer, creating that opportunity for a potential extended fire season. And so we are hoping that at this time to create space in this meeting for John Klassen to share a little bit more, followed by a short demo for the smoke and wildfire app that could be one available resource. That said, I believe our CAL FIRE partner may not be available right at the moment. So I'm wondering if maybe Marcella, you'd be comfortable with sharing the demo first while that is taking place, and then we could go from there. I will at this time also remind folks that this update from Marcella will be taking place in Spanish. And so make sure that you just want to give a gentle reminder to select the language that you would like to hear this presentation in. And as a reminder, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little globe symbol that says interpretation. You can click that and select which language at this time.
Perfecto. ¿Sí me pueden escuchar esta vez?
Perfect. Can you hear me this time? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here with you. I'm Marisela Velasquez, and I'm one of the supervisors in the Air District in the Department of outreach and communication. And the reason that I'm here is to be able to speak about the map, about the fires and the smoke and the air. I know that John and one of my colleagues will give that presentation, and we will change this a little bit and on how we had planned it before. Let me show you my screen. Let me see if I can do it. Yes, here it is. Well, you will be able to see my camera, my screen, and I'm gonna log into this app. I don't know if Nancy can help me to put this link in the chat, but right now we are looking at the map, and you are looking at it on how this is starting, and this is how you see it when you start showing it. But I would like to show you here is like you see, it's in English, but it's also available in Spanish. And the way on how you can change the language is that if you go to this top right corner, on your right corner, you'll see an icon, a world icon, very similar the one that you use when you change your language. You can click on that button and you will be able to see what language you wanted to see, English or Spanish. And this way, because we're gonna do the presentation in Spanish, I'm gonna put it, or I'm gonna click in Spanish, and then you'll see that everything is initiating the map in Spanish. And we will see that the map, it's opening. And we will see that it'll say where we are here in the city of Fresno. And what we like about this map is that it'll be able to show you the whole country, all the countries as well. They will be included as well. And I'm gonna go outside a little bit, outside of our region, to see how is the air quality in other parts of the country, and also in other countries. We can see that in Canada, we have a lot of fires that are happening in that area. And what we can see here is that these icons that look like a little fire, it's because they have a fire that we already know and we recognize it. And if you click on that button, you will have the information about that fire and what's the name of it and how many acres are burning and all the report close to that fire. So if we close it again, I'm gonna get out a little bit out of the map. And what I wanted to show is something that we haven't seen this for a long time, that the quality, the air quality in California is good, especially during this time, summertime. And we know that we have other fires, but at the moment they're not affecting us. And what you can see here in the map is that this gray area that you see around this area, that's the smoke that we have or we're seeing through the satellite. And that's what we see around the country or the nation. And we're gonna try to do a close-up or zoom in, and we're gonna see the different layers to see what we're looking at. And what we can see here is that the city of Fresno, or this area, the air quality is good because the little dots are green. So I'm gonna show you the different layers, and the circles that you see here, those circles are showing a monitor that is permanent. That means that this is one from the air district or for the resource board. This is a permanent monitor. And if we see the triangle here, let me see if I can find a triangle. Yes, here in the mountains. This monitor that you see here, that means that this is a temporary monitor. And the reason that we have the temporary monitor is probably because they have a fire in that area and they want to see around those mountains and what's happening in that community. And we know that many people here in this area and the whole country, they have a lot of low-cost sensors available, and those are included here in this area. So what we could see here is that here one person has a personal sensor and it's showing us that the quality of the air is not good, and we don't know the reason because everything around is good. Maybe something is not working well with the sensor, or it's possible that something is happening in that community specifically that's affecting the air quality in that area. And we are gonna see the different layers. Like I mentioned before, when you see that fire icon, it's because it's a fire that's big. And when you click on that icon, it'll show you the information about the fire. And if you see, there are some areas like a little light bulb, and that means that they detected something by the satellite. So the satellite is showing here that there's a type of heat in that area. And here we can see the smoke column that you see, penacho de humo in Spanish, as you can see. You see those columns of smoke that you could see. And the reason that you are not seeing, even though there's smoke in these areas, the air quality is good because you see that everything's green. And it's simply because the smoke is possible that it's all the way up and not at the ground level, and the people is not breathing that, so the smoke is more outside in the atmosphere. And here where you can see this icon, and what we will see here, I don't know if you can see it here, but we have a warning in these areas, and when you're pressing or clicking here, you'll see the information about what's happening in this community. And that's what I simply wanted to show you here. And something that we can talk about this as well is that these circles or the squares or the triangles will be changing depending on the air quality in this community. As I showed you, the one we had in red here in the Fresno community, and what we can see here is that the air quality is good along the valley. And we have some areas that possibly the air quality is moderate, but I don't know if you would like me to see a little bit of the different levels. I want you to let me know if that's what you want to see, but simply you can change the language here. And this icon here that has the different colors, this is only if you need assistance with the different colors, or you're visually impaired, or you need help with that. You can click on the icon and it'll change the color so you can actually see it. And if you click this button that says FAQ, those are the questions that you can check if you want to know more about this, on how to use it or how to check the data, or the things that you could do. Like I show you, all the actions that you can take. If the air quality is good, that means that there's nothing. If you don't smell or feel the smoke, that's a good moment for you to go out and open your windows and go outside and do exercise. And if the quality of the air is moderate, and if you don't feel the smell of smoke and you're not looking at it, you can do the same activities. But if you're sensitive to that, you have to probably limit your activities outside, because it could affect your symptoms if you have asthma or any other chronic problems. So we have everything else here. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to show you the different data that you can receive here. We have more information. I almost check and review everything that we had here. Not this moment. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen unless you have a question.
Okay, no, parece que no estoy teniendo ninguna
It seems
pregunta.
like there are no questions.
De mi parte, no, gracias. Gracias, no.
Gracias, Roberta. Entonces, Bakayla, ¿te lo paso a ti o se lo paso a
So, Vikeira, back to you or to John?
All right, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful resource with us, Maricela, and we just really appreciate it. And as is the nature of this work, I'm afraid that our CAL FIRE partner actually had an emergency and had to respond to a fire, and so won't be able to join us after all. That being said, we really want to be sure that we do elevate the importance of, attuning to resources like the one that you just shared with us, Marticela. So thank you so much. And yes, we just definitely want to elevate, reminding our CSC and community members about the importance of being ready to respond in this season. In light of that, I'm wondering if the Air District has any fire or wildfire readiness resources that they'd be willing or have accessible, available for the group to share within our networks.
Okay, Michaela, John actually had a presentation that included some of that material.
Very wonderful. Thank you so much. And so, yes, thank you. And I see that, yes, the City of Fresno has a 4-slide presentation on an email that they can send out to anyone who's interested in that.
Oh, no, sorry, Michaela. No, John Klassen, he was going to give a co-presentation with the fire department.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if maybe we can have anyone who's interested then, or is John still on this call? I'm sorry.
Yeah, John's here.
Oh, amazing.
Here.
So sorry, John. Thank you so much for your patience. My caffeine's wearing off for the day. John, would you feel comfortable sharing at this time?
Yeah, thank you. And I'll share a few slides here. And I know we're running a little late on time, so I'll try to keep it pretty brief. Yeah, hopefully at a future meeting, Seth Brown, who was here from CAL FIRE, he can be available and talk a bit about the work that CAL FIRE is doing. They're on the front lines, working on these issues, trying to reduce the fuel out there, reduce fire risk. So we appreciate him being on here for a bit tonight, and hopefully he can be on here at another meeting soon to give us an update there. But let me go ahead and share my screen here and walk you through a few slides that I wanted to share tonight. Give me a moment here. Okay, can you see that okay? Okay. There we go. Just a little bit of background. Of course, we know emissions from wildfires can be overwhelming, right? We've experienced that in recent years where when we have big wildfires in the area, we live in a bowl in the valley, of course, all that smoke can get trapped. It can overwhelm my air quality, have a lot of health impacts. We've all experienced that firsthand living here. This can lead to really high levels of particulate matter, which is called PM for short, or ozone as well. When wildfires burn, they also produce what are called precursors to the formation of ozone, NOx and VOC emissions that can lead to high levels of ozone. So it can be kind of a double whammy during the summer season. We have both high particulate matter and high ozone, which can impact public health. We have a lot of wildfire issues here because of a number of reasons. There have been fire suppression policies that have been in place for decades that have led to a buildup of fuel in our forests in the area. We've had drought conditions in recent years leading to a lot of tree mortality. There's a lot of trees that have died up in the forest, very dry, ready to burn. Changing climate conditions like higher temperatures and drought, all of that coming together to cause very intense wildfire seasons and the potential for those. So because of that, this is of course a really relevant issue to air quality here in the region. And this can impact our health, right? Particulate matter can get deep inside the lungs. The smaller the particles are, the deeper they can get into the lungs. They can get into the bloodstream, cause different health issues. And so this can be an impact to everyone's health that lives here. This slide here just shows an overview of what we've seen for the number of acres burned across the region, across California, the past number of years. And you can see I've highlighted here 2020 and 2021, those 2 years. Those were 2 record-breaking years for wildfires. 2020 by far broke records for the number of acres burned across the state, over 4 million acres in that year, and that over doubled the record in previous years. If you look on the left-hand side, you see back in the past. Then the year 2021 wasn't as bad as 2020, but that still was the second highest we've ever seen in the state. So back to back, the two highest years we've ever seen. Last year wasn't too bad, thankfully. In 2022, you see it quite a bit lower there, less than 500,000 acres burned across the state. And then to the right of there is our year-to-date for 2023. So not much has happened so far this year. If you've been tracking it, there have been a few fires in the state, but nothing to the scale of what we've seen yet in 2020 and 2021. But the wildfire season, we're right in the middle of it. It hasn't been too bad so far, but the wildfire season often doesn't end until November, sometimes in December. So there still could be a number of months coming up where we could see some wildfires come up and impact our air quality. And I wanted to note here too that this is a chart that CAL FIRE keeps updated each year, where it shows the top 20 largest wildfires in state history. And so you can see here that 9 of the top 20 largest fires we've ever seen in California have occurred just in the past few years in 2020 and 2021, just showing how intense those wildfire seasons were for those 2 years, how large these fires were. Just evidence of the increasingly intense wildfire seasons we've been seeing in California. And you can see that the largest that we've ever seen is the August Complex fire. This was in 2020, where it burned just over 1 million acres on its own. And a lot of this is driven by drought conditions. So thankfully this year in 2023, we've had a lot more rain, a lot more water. Of course, this last winter season was record-breaking for the amount of rain that we got and the snow, which is great for us. And that's really reduced a lot of the drought conditions. So these 2 images here show a difference between what our conditions were like for the drought in June of 2022 on the left-hand side. Then on the right-hand side is where we were just a few weeks ago at the end of July. So much better, a lot more water in the area, which is good to keep moisture out there to reduce fire risk. But the other side of it, the flip side, is when we have a lot more water in the area, there can be a lot more growth, a lot more brush up in the forest. And eventually when it gets hot enough, all that will dry out and that'll be fuel ready to burn. So having a lot of water can be a good thing to reduce fire risk, and it can also increase the amount of growth, which will then eventually burn if wildfires come in the area. So 2 different sides of the coin there. Just a few slides here on air quality too. Just wanted to note that usually during the summer season, when we have wildfires in the summer to fall time, it's just showing PM 2.5 air quality index data, kind of similar to what Madi was showing on the map that we're looking at, the different colors. Usually during these months when we don't have big wildfire seasons, the air quality is good to moderate, with a few unhealthy for sensitive group days. Those orange days, those are pretty rare for PM 2.5, but the majority of the year we're good to moderate air quality for PM 2.5. And this data here shows for the years 2019 and 2022, those were 2 years when we didn't have a lot of wildfire impacts. So without wildfires, this is just a picture of what our particulate matter air quality looks like during a normal year without wildfires. And I wanted to compare this with what we see when we do have wildfire impacts. So this is showing the same time period, the same type of data for the years 2020 and 2021 on the right-hand side there. And you can see we have a lot more orange days, those unhealthy for sensitive group days. We see a lot of unhealthy days, those red days as well, even some very unhealthy days. That's that little purple sliver there on the top, that top pie chart. So the point here is that when we have air quality impacts during the wildfire season, you can see our particulate matter increases and our particulate matter air quality suffers because of it. Just showing a few images here of what some of this looks like from satellite imagery. This was last year. We did have a few weeks of wildfire air quality impacts. If you look on the left-hand side, this is some smoke impacts from the mosquito fire. This was in September of last year. You can see some of the smoke coming from that fire up in the Sierra Nevada, coming kind of smearing its way across of Northern California. And then we had a weather system come through and push a lot of that smoke down into the valley along with that cloud cover in the middle of September of last year. You can see that this video here is just showing the movement of some of the smoke. You can see it coming from those fires up in Northern California. You see this cloud cover coming, and the next day you see a lot of haze and smoke across the valley, impacting the air quality in the region. And this chart here just shows the data on an hourly basis. So not only do we see big impacts to air quality on a daily average basis, but looking at this on hourly basis too, we see very high concentrations of PM 2.5. This is showing the hourly values over about a 2-week period across different parts of the San Joaquin Valley. You can see a lot of the data here is going into that red category, that portion on the top part of this chart, getting into the unhealthy air quality category. You see a lot of hours in the unhealthy for sensitive groups, this orange category. And this is pretty common when we have fire impacts. We can see really high hourly concentrations wherever that smoke is heading that impacts the air quality here in public health. And like what we do with CAL FIRE, we work closely with CAL FIRE, with the Forest Service, the Park Service, land managers who are working on these issues on the front lines, trying to reduce fuel. So we work with them when wildfires do occur. We work with them to put out temporary air monitors, like Madi showed on the map, those triangles, where those monitors are out there on a temporary basis to collect air quality in those local areas, to give information to the public so they can see what's happening, to help them make personal decisions about when they want to be outside, when they do not want to take some actions to protect their health. And there are a lot of tools out there, similar to what Maricela showed. The Air Now tool, we have our own app here at the Air District that shows real-time air quality data. Air Now has its own app that shows that same data. A lot of weather apps show the current air quality that you've probably seen. Other local projects show air quality, Purple Air, SJV Air showing local air quality. Lots of different tools out there to keep track and keep up with what's happening with air quality. And then the last slide here just shows a number of links, just resources for you to explore and take a look at between all of these tools, between Air Now, the tools that we provide here at the Air District, different weather apps to take a look at weather and air quality, and different apps that show current prescribed burning projects too that are focused on reducing fuel across the area. So I'll stop there and I'll turn it back over to our host to see if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, John, for sharing this really helpful and important information with us this evening. Also, my apologies for trying to cut you out last minute. And would anyone have any questions for John about anything that was mentioned in this time? Okay, thank you so much. We do also want to, as always, encourage folks just to know that this is not the closed door on the conversation. So if you are, preparing for your meal after this, and you realize, oh, I should have asked this burning question, no pun intended, please feel free to reach out via email and to continue the conversation that way. So yes, in light of our limited time, we would love to transition at this moment to chatting a little bit more about what Greg would be sharing with us from the city of Fresno. Greg, take it away.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give a quick update on the 617 truck study real fast. The report is that the IBI group with Kathleen Padilla and Associates, our consultants, are revising the existing conditions report based on the 200 plus comments received from the community advisory group and the technical steering committee. The consultant is finalizing their national best practice report, and both the community advisory group as well as the technical steering committee will receive a response to all their comments and have an opportunity to review and make additional comments in the upcoming weeks. And then the last meeting was just held in July. Our next meeting is scheduled in late August. And again, we continue to have both groups, encourage both groups to share locations, events for public outreach activities in September and again in the November, December timeframe. And we thank everyone who has shared so far. And don't forget the AB 617 truck route study at fresno.gov. website, email, should you have additional things. And then on the health assessment update, the University of California, Merced has completed the random sample survey of 1,800 residents in the AB 617 community and is working on a fact sheet based on those survey findings, and that they will continue to use their data analysis on pregnancy outcomes and cardiovascular ER visits and hospitalizations, as well as collaborate with the truck study consultant for the outreach events coming up. And the Merced is on track to have a draft report by December. And then for the sake of time, I know it was emailed on behalf of Jennifer. I'll make sure that on the public noticing side of things, I just want to bring point that the city has just put together a new open notification system, and it's really simple. You just sign up by sending an email to planning@fresno.gov, and that will add you to the list. Once per day, when those batches of announcements are put together, if there are any, on land use issues, they will come out to you, and it will come from an email that basically says planning notices /no reply @fresno.gov. And so this is something that back to when I was on the council side of things back in the early 2000s, we had been advocating for. And so here is the city finally getting to that. Again, it's planning@fresno.gov to sign up, and then you'll get your email as they come across. And again, for the sake of time, I'll just kind of leave it at that. But it was something that we sent out to the Air Board yesterday, and I'm sure it's going to be part of the packet if it didn't get pushed out. It'll be a supplement that'll be added. So, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you. At this time, would love to invite folks to share any quick questions that they have. And I do see, Lisa, that your hand is raised.
Yes, I think it's great that, when you send an email to the planning department, they put you in the big bundle of notifications. But for somebody like me, I don't want to get a constant barrage of notices from the city when all I want is very specific, to be put on a very specific mailing list. So is the gentleman telling me that there's just this one massive catch-all that they're expecting the community to read through every other day or every day looking for their issue or their document? Or are they breaking out specific mailing lists? Because there's a difference between making it all available that way and then also looking at your targeted people who have went out of their way to reach out to you and say, hey, put me on the truck study mailing list. I want to see a copy of the document. I don't want to see conditional use permits. I don't want to see anything else in planning. I just want to see that one document. So how does it with the city?
So appreciate the gentleman compliment, Lisa. Always good to hear from you. So if you're looking for notices from the general planning department, it is planning@fresno.gov. And if you're looking for just truck route study updates, it is the other address, which is the AB 617 truck route study. And they will continue to provide you with updates on just the truck route study.
Okie dokie.
Thank you for that question, Lisa.
Well, excuse me, but here's my problem. I have been wanting information on the truck route, and I believe one of the last things, one of the last things I attended that I thought I was in the loop, I thought I was on the list, and here I am not getting anything, not knowing anything about any sort of meeting. and just deaf, dumb, and blind out here trying to figure it out in the wilderness. So I guess I will have to call planning tomorrow and have a discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I am also a little confused. Gregory, are you saying that we email this email site and then that email automatically puts us onto the listserv? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, for the planning documents, and they're focusing on they're focusing on environmental studies, including scopings and drafts, public hearings, and project pre and post approvals.
Okay, so there's two of them. One's for the planning and one's for the truck reroute. Would you mind putting those two email addresses in the chat for us?
Yep, I was doing that right now.
Oh, thank you so much.
You were reading my mind. Yep.
I dropped in the slides that Greg referenced, and we'll also mail those out.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing that information in the chat here. And yeah, and we were making a note of that and would for sure wonder and encourage if Greg can maybe follow up on this piece. And it sounds like maybe a helpline would be something that would be really valuable at this time to ensure that folks are able to get connected with information that they need. And yeah, and I'm wondering if, yeah, folks continue to have follow-up questions and can't access the email, if there's a phone number to call that would be best to reach out to as well.
I would probably be just the general planning staff. What are they, 621 something? I'll put that in the chat too. Let me look it up.
You put that in the chat as well. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, at this time, I'm wondering if we can now transition to hearing from our DPR partners. Unfortunately, just due to the time of the evening, we won't be able to get to quite all of our standing updates, but we look forward to continuing this conversation via email for these other pieces as well. But yes, so yes, next we have the Department of Pesticide Regulation, or DPR, listed in our last meeting in June. CSC members elevated a desire to have a greater presence from DPR in these meetings. And so at this time, DPR, we'd love to invite DPR to provide a brief update on their work across the state, as well as any opportunities for individuals to plug into this work.
Of course, thank you for this opportunity today. So in terms of our work in the statewide work that we are doing currently, we are working on a 1,3D regulation, which I believe you all know. The current 1,3D regulation is set to be finalized by end of this year and will be effective in January 1st. It is basically regulation targets to protect the residents, especially children, who are the most sensitive populations, and we call it non-occupational bystanders regulation. I'm gonna send a basic copy, a link to all the documentation and information that we have about this regulation into the chat. Right now, we are at our third public hearing, public comment period, which will end tomorrow. After that, we will be working on all the documents, putting it together, and hopefully we are aiming to
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know I'm experiencing some audio issues.
Me too.
Yeah. Another regulation that is also about
Excuse
one
me.
TV that maybe around
I'm
the field.
I'm afraid that we're actually having a hard time hearing you. Would you feel, yeah, would you mind trying again? Yeah.
Okay, can
Would you
you
mind
hear
turning
me
your
now?
video off?
Okay, so I believe my computer is unmuting me. So just please let me know whenever it's happening. So I'm gonna go back to what I was explaining. So the statewide effort that we are doing is 130 regulation. You all know that we, at the moment, we are working to finalize our first 130 regulation by end of this year, which will be effective January 1st. This regulation targets, basically is meant to protect the residents, especially our children, which are the most sensitive populations. I already pasted a link to our webpage that we have all the information about this regulation and all the notices and the document that we relied upon for this regulation. Apart from this, we're also working on another regulation that intend to protect workers that may be around the field. So we are currently developing
I'm so sorry. I think the audio is cutting out again. I'm wondering if maybe at this time, would you mind either selecting the mute button and unmute button one more time, or maybe typing in the chat?
I hate to be repetitive, but I really do think it's his internet connection. And if you were to turn off his video, it would increase the bandwidth.
Thank you, Genevieve. Yes. I'm wondering, did you happen to hear this conversation?
Criteria that.
Yeah, yes. We lost him.
Thank you, Genevieve. And I saw that you raised your hand as well, Marcella. Yes, I'm wondering if you would mind, okay, great, thanks. Yes, I'm wondering if you would maybe mind continuing either in the chat what you were hoping to share, or maybe turning off your video so that we can hear the really important information that you have to share with us in that piece.
Is he still here?
No, Maziar isn't on anymore.
Oh no. Okay.
You know, I think it's 7:29. So what we could probably do with the last few updates, we could probably include it as part of an email. And Maziar, we can get the links from you, and we'll send that out to the rest of the committee. Really appreciate you.
Sure. I'm very sorry. I don't know what's happening. I just lost power for a couple of minutes, and then everything went down. So I'm using my phone at the moment.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. Yeah, DPR working on 2 regulations, one for residences that, you know, in regards to restricted pesticides, and then also one for worker safety, both super important. And so that regulatory work's ongoing. The resident one is you know, done by the end of the year, is looking is what it's looking like. So we'll send out links to the CSC members so they can get more information if they choose to do so. Thanks, Mazir.
Yes, thank you so much.
I don't know if you can hear me now. My apologies for my internet, and thank you, Brian, for the update.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much. Yes, we look forward to continuing the conversation with so many other items via email. And so, yes, as we kind of transition into just wrapping up this evening, in light of really wanting to be respectful of each of you and your generosity in sharing your evening with us, we would love to chat maybe about next steps as we close this time together. So as the PowerPoint is maybe shared once more, we just want to remind folks that our next agenda setting meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, August 16th at 4:30 p.m. That is to take place on Zoom, as well as wanting to put on your radars that our next CSC meeting is Wednesday, September 20th at 5:30 p.m. again on Zoom. And so at this time, we would love to ask, are there any clarifying questions or modifications before we transition to any closing remarks from Ryan or Genevieve?
Yeah, I just want to thank all the CSC members. Really want to thank Genevieve for being a co-host and doing a great job tonight. Thanks everyone. Thanks for all the partner agencies and the updates and all the work.
Yeah, thank you for everyone for participating in a great conversation. I feel like it was really productive. And break.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Genevieve, for being willing to co-host for this meeting. Thank you everyone so much for your time. We do want to note that we would love to open in our last moments here, just open the floor for any general final public comments that anyone would like to make as we close out our evening. We'll also make a note. We would also like to note that we plan to share the action items via email as well. We do want to make sure that we follow up on that piece as well. But yes, at this time, any final public comments from any CSC members? Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and hoping you experience a wonderful rest of your evening. That concludes our meeting for today. Thank you so much.
Night. Buenas noches a todos.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.